So this is the second part in the video series. So the first video we covered which are the good job boards to look on, how to approach a company directly, and how to write a really good intro email to grab their attention. So my next section is on follow-up and interview prep. So ideally, when you send your application through, it will either be for a live role or on a speculative basis. Now, you don't want to bombard the person that you've applied to. You want to give them a little bit of time. Also, it's worth remembering at the moment, there are a lot of people that have been furloughed that are working part-time hours. So you're dealing with people that have their own stresses of lockdown and the pandemic. So however you reach out to anyone at the moment in the industry, it's so important that you are incredibly conscientious. Never ever in a million years send a sarcastic email saying something like, it would have been nice to have heard back from you, or even if they say you're not the right candidate, sending a sarky email, because I am a great believer in sometimes no just means not yet. I've had plenty of situations in my own career where I've approached a company a number of times. Also, don't forget, in regards to industry leaders, there have been some people that I've had to reach out to a few times over the weeks, just very lightly and gently, like, hey, it'd be great to have a chat with you at some point. So there's always that as well. Now, keep an eye on that company when you send your details through, because you might not be right at that moment in time, but the perfect vacancy may come up a week, a month, a year later. And if you're following them on social media, on their LinkedIn and their Instagram and their Twitter, reach out then. And the number one tip is always reattach your CV and portfolio. Don't be that person that sends an email saying, hey, I sent my details through 3 weeks ago, because chances are 3 weeks ago they've had a load of other emails come through from other people. So just reattach your details again, okay? Make it easy, because don't make it so that you're like, hey, I sent my details through a month ago. And then they're like, well, hang on a minute, I have to trawl my inbox to see if you're right. So just be really conscientious, reattach your stuff every single time you reach out. And then hopefully you'll land an interview. So you've got an interview, amazing. You're really looking forward to it. Interviews at the moment, due to the current climate, are a little bit few and far between. So how can you nail that first stage interview? Number one should be your preparation. Now, some interviewers actually ask in the interview, what did you do to prepare for this? And that's a really good indication as to you as a character. So a great way to prepare is, number one, look at all their projects, recent projects. Go on Instagram, Twitter, their website, and think about what you love and why you love it, and perhaps think about your work and how that might relate to that project that you love. So that's one good thing, like show you know them and what they're about. Go on LinkedIn and look up the person that will be interviewing you and take a look at their profile and their background. Show an interest, like interesting people are interested in others. So really show that. And when you're meeting that person, you might even say, oh, you know, I looked on your LinkedIn, I saw you studied at this uni, me too, or you studied that, you went to that agency, oh, I've been there, etc. So you've got like a point of reference when you're engaging with that person. So the number one tip, never ever be late. Don't be late, because no matter how good that interview is, if you start it on the back foot by a rambling apology and you're sweating and you are just, like I said, apologizing, it's not a good way to come off. You want to be composed. You want to show them you respect their time by being early. And that same goes for online interviews. I mean, if you can't log in on time to an online interview when you're at home, there's something wrong there with your timekeeping. You can't come up with excuses such as buses or trains or anything like that. I mean, unless you're at home and your child has had a meltdown, which can happen, it's highly unlikely that you're going to be late for an online interview. So as you're going through, the key thing to remember through most interviews is 50% is all about you, your skills, what you can bring, speaking through your experience. And the other 50% is all about the company and asking questions about them and how you fit into that company. And then it's like the perfect coming together of you and them and what the benefit of that could be. And be excited, like passion, enthusiasm, it's infective, right? Infectious. And people want people that want to work for them. Like, don't play it cool. Okay, this isn't dating. This is a company that could be perfect for you. So show them that you're keen. The way that you can demonstrate you're keen is by your research and that you know your stuff and that you can present that to them. And think of some quite good questions. So ask them about certain projects, ask them about things like progression. Now, another key thing I want you to remember, when they ask you your salary, this is important. Don't be flustered. Have a clear thing in your head about what salary you want. Now, salaries are going to be something that is so important because it might be that you're up against other candidates, and if you and another creative are exactly the same, like completely identical in so many ways, but one of you is commanding a much higher salary than the other, bearing in mind your skill set, your experience is identical, it's highly likely that the company may lean towards the candidate that's asking for less money. Now, that being said, you shouldn't undersell yourself as well. So there's a real fine balance in your salary expectations. And the main thing I want you to think about is, imagine you are a business owner. You justify a cost. Same as when you're a consumer. If you're going to make a purchase, and unfortunately it is a crude way of thinking about the purchase as you, but you are an outgoing cost to a company. So they really need to see like the justification of the value, and where you can charge more is when you can give a bit more, when you might be a bit head and shoulders above the competition, and that might be because of your design experience or your aesthetic, or the fact that you're a strong all-rounder that can do print, digital, and motion. That there's a number of varying factors that affect things like what salary you could be asking for. So I hope that helps, and then the next follow-up video will be the next section 2 when you are looking for work, which will cover things like second stage interviews, when you get set a design task, and the offer itself.